Like our Earth.
Don't smile so much.
Shut up, dude. He was doing so good.
Taking the natural
right.
out of it. Today's episode is brought to you by Riker Earth. Riker Earth is your go-to for dehydrated fruit. They have a selection of dried fruit for snacking, cocktail garnishes, crafts, scents, and more. Visit their website at RikerEarth.com to see all they have to offer. For our listeners, you can use code Terrillian10 for 10% off at checkout. That's Terrillian10 for 10% off your next order from Riker Earth.
Riker Earth has gifted us a simmer pot to enjoy during our recording today. Don't forget to go over to their website, and when you order, because you should order, use code Terrillian10 for 10% off at checkout. Now let's get into the show.
After receiving reports of the spread of corruption from the Monolith, Caff realized that he had misjudged the intent of Terrillian. Knowing the fragments were too numerous for him to gather on his own, he sent word to his brothers and told them to raise armies to beat back the corrupt stone golems and aid in the collection of monolith fragments. Caff then commanded them to seal away the remains in hidden vaults. So they did. With armies led by Darthmar and their children the Fleece, they warred against the corrupt stone and destroyed all they could. But soon they discovered, unlike the Darthmar and Fleece were not immune to the corruption of the Monolith. Many lives were lost in the cleansing war, but even more lives were taken when the first of the Darthmar, who thought themselves immune, were found not to be, and their powers were turned against their own. Because of this, the purifying war raged for years, till reports of the corruption slowed to a seeming halt. However, for millennia, when a poor soul would come across the hauntingly beautiful stone and feel compelled to touch it, the cycle would begin anew.
Hi, welcome to the Terrillian podcast. I'm Beard, the resident nerd. Next to me is Chris, the music producer.
Riker Earth, Terrillian 10.
Wow.
Reference.
Yeah, dude.
I'm proud of you.
And then we have the creator of this beautiful story, Ian.
Hello.
We have our executive producer, Marina,
Hello.
the other half to all of our brains.
That's me.
And then you have the tech wizard and editor and basically everything else, Dalton.
Not that.
Oh gosh, I don't know about everything else.
Fun fact, every single time you refer to him as Tech Wizard, in my head, I hear Tech Lizard.
Nice.
I was
that
hoping
works.
you would do that. And then on the floor, you can't
You're a
see him. He's
lizard,
laying
Harry.
there because he's really tired. Is the beautiful voice that read the chapter for us today, Gavin.
And who hopefully will be reading more chapters in the future.
Riker Earth.
Riker
Terrillian
Earth.
10.
There we
Also,
go. They heard
some
that.
real quick little housekeeping things.
Housekeeping.
If you look around, you will see we are in a studio.
Oh.
This studio,
Where
Ian,
were we?
I, and
Where's my
Dalton
Christmas
have
present?
spent a couple months getting ready for the podcast. We're super excited about it. And yeah,
Been a
this
labor
should
of
be
love.
where you'll be seeing us in hopefully all future episodes.
Talk into the mic.
Until further
Talk
notice,
into
at
the mic,
least.
dude.
But yeah, we're super excited about it. We have like our own like very specific designated place to record and do all the podcast things.
Yeah.
So with all of that though, Chris, go ahead. Get us started.
Because Terrillian is worth it.
It is.
Go ahead, Chris.
First,
Try.
is it 9%?
9% of what?
No, it's 10%.
It's 10%.
Riker Earth.
Try to remember that.
Yeah.
Riker Earth, Terrillian
Riker Earth.
10. Ian, you want to just summarize what's happening right here from your point of view?
Yeah. So
What is in your head? How does this chapter go?
So the way I kind of see it is Terrillian gets upset that basically her first attempt failed. So
Okay.
cleaving for what she had available to her, because the Seed of Demayus has already kind of powered her a little bit back up. I kind of call it like a cash return.
Right.
So she made an investment. She got return off that power back to her. So at this point, she's using what power she got and what's available to her, which are all the husks of the planets that she's personally devoured. She's rebuilding these, basically this gigantic rock. And the idea of it behind it was she was going to use that as her second attempt to take out, Terrillian, aka Caff, and the rest of his descendantry. She's sending that down there.
The whole planet of Terrillian.
Yeah, well, she's sending that down there to basically take out the planet because she can't go down there because, one, she's a coward. So she doesn't want to risk going head to head with Caff and possibly maybe being defeated by him. So she makes this gigantic stone as 2 parts. One, if it does not get blocked by Caff, it's going to make a huge impact damage, which is going to destroy a lot of the planet.
Okay.
2,
So as far as her power level goes, do you think if it was a fight between Terrillian and Caff, like hand-to-hand combat?
Ooh, yeah, like if she
Caff,
could get
Caff
to the
and
planet.
Terrillian hand-to-hand, do you think...
I
Are
think
we
if it
getting
was
into
Caff-
questions
if-
now?
Yes.
Kind of.
This is a podcast. We're just talking.
Okay,
Get with it.
I'm with it.
Read your phone.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just giving you crap, dude.
I'm listening now.
we're discussing.
But no,
I'm
so
listening.
like if they were in hand-to-hand combat and
I would
she
say
had the ability to punch him in the face and he had the ability to punch her in the face, who would hit harder?
I think
Or who
Terrillian
would be hurt
herself
more?
would hit harder.
Who would win in arm wrestling?
Ooh,
I would say Terrillian probably would win.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Caff's strength doesn't just come from his innate ability, which he's very, very strong on his own, yes, but
Right.
the rest of his people. So having the other night trees, or not night trees, sorry, but having the other like Darthmars that are in place, those are essentially backing him. Because you think about it, he is a segment of Kraith's power, but Kraith's power is also divvied between the rest.
Right.
So you have all of his other brethren out there. So I would say if it was between her and all of them combined,
Okay, so like to put it, so kind of, okay, so in my head it's like, Kraith created her. At one time he created her. So it was all of his thought and power went into that at one time.
yeah.
Not all of his power,
But
obviously,
a
but
good percentage,
his, his thought process was, this is the one thing I'm creating.
Yep.
And then the brothers,
Yeah.
the not Nitries, Darthmar, goodness.
I got you.
The Darthmar, they are several.
There's 12.
Right. 12 of them, like the apostles. Hey, that's kind of cool.
Fun.
Was that intentional?
No.
No, just
No.
12. Good number. Nice round number.
It seemed like a good number to me. Like when I mapped it out, I was like, there's 12. How many of the Lord of the Rings, the Nazgul, how many are there?
9.
9.
9.
Solid number.
12
So
to
counting
the
Caff,
dwarf
you have
lords?
13.
Because there's 9 men.
9 men. No, I
3
think
to the
it's-
elves, 9 to the men, 12 to the dwarves.
it comes back to the
12.
thing.
I
Like
think it's 12
wanted,
to the dwarf lords.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
The
so-
Dwarf Lords.
The dwarf lord.
The Dork Lord.
Oh, man.
Word.
I think the reason I picked 12 is because I needed. It comes back to the whole cannon fodder.
Yeah.
I need them to die, so I
Yeah.
need more, so that way I can have some left over, but it's less. You know what I mean? So, for example, if I only had like 3 Darthmar, and we kill 2, then it's really significant to see 1. If I have 12 and I kill 7 or 8, and we have 4 remaining, then I get a little more play with that. I can have 4 different ones still floating around, or I can have something like that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know who the Darthmar are, obviously, and the Darthma. We talked about that in episode 1. Who are the Felice?
Felice are essentially the Darthma breeding with natural inhabitants. Thus, Felice.
Do they have powers?
Yeah. So they're more tuned to the to the Dawasil than regular inhabitants are, but not as much as Darthma.
So it's like somebody who's force sensitive versus somebody who has the
Back
ability
at
to
it
use
again with that
Sorry,
midichlorian talk.
dude. I like.
We're always gonna go
I mean,
back to
I get it.
I gotta
again.
relate it to
You-
things I know. You
Yeah,
know?
no, I get
But
it.
yeah.
I get it.
It's so like people who are force sensitive but aren't necessarily a Jedi master. Like they don't have the ability to utilize whatever this not seeable power is, but they have the ability to somewhat interact with it.
So, like on a scale of 1 to 100, Caff would be a 100, Darthma would be 50, and the Felice would be
20, 10, varying.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this. Some people, they look more like, their father than their mother and vice versa. So it's kind of like that depending on what genetic they lean towards.
Okay.
Then
Oh,
usually,
interesting. Okay.
usually the Darthmar, their side is more dominant. And you
Yeah.
can see that because they'll come out and they're always going to be bigger. They're always going to be stronger. And then they do have an innate ability.
Okay, so like in Greek mythology with the when the gods would
Demigods.
demigods, but then
But
the
so they're like the
demigods
children
of
of the demigods.
Yeah, I would say demigods, children of children. Because you have like
So
Caff.
how
demigod.
So like
big of a
Hercules.
role-
something like that, yeah.
Kind
kind
of,
of so like Hercules was
not so OP as Hercules,
But
in
like
the sense of like
Hercules'
super
kid?
crazy strong,
Right,
but like
right.
Chuck.
Or Achilles. Is that who I'm thinking of?
Is that canon?
Achilles
No.
is
That's
a...
run by
Hercules'
the
son is
heel.
Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that seriously his name? Because I don't know how to. Okay, good. Because I'm very gullible in that respect.
That's funny.
How big of like a role do they play? Because like
Pretty
we
big.
kind of just threw that name in.
The Felice, or yeah, no, they play a decent role. I mean,
Will
they create.
your character encounter them in the game?
Yeah, they're still around when he shows up.
Cool.
Yeah, a
How
lot of.
plentiful are they?
I would say they're on the decline, but there's still a decent amount remaining.
You
Like
also
what-
have to remember at that point when you start playing the game, they've basically bred with normal people to the degree where it's almost not
Oh,
noticeable,
okay.
though.
So they're there, but
So they're
it's
still
just
there, but you can't.
disseminated.
It's hard
Yeah.
to tell
Okay.
the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, what would you say if the population of the Earth is what, 10 billion
Sure.
Something
Why
like
not?
million?
Let's just use
Last I
10.
heard was 9.7, but 10 is fine.
9.7 billion. Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say the population of Terrillian is? If you had to throw a number on it.
If I had to throw, geez, because
Ian has number
Before
blindness.
or
Yeah.
after parts of it were getting destroyed?
Well, I mean, as
I'm
far
just
as
trying
gameplay
I'm just trying to put it in like a
At point of game
Yeah.
or
at point of
game?
this part.
at point of this part.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that to you because I think you're better with numbers than I am. To
So it's during the conflict between. Wait, no.
Yes.
right
It is
before
right before
impact.
Monolith.
It is right
Yeah, right
before the monolith.
Okay,
is-
so this is after millennia of the Darthmar ruling justly and wisely. So I would assume that the population would be allegedly would be absolutely massive. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the hundreds of billions.
hundreds of
Huh?
billions. So
Yeah.
how big is Terrillian in comparison to the Earth?
It's a multi-tiered planet.
So we actually talked
Like
about this, I
5
think, in a previous
Earths?
episode. So like compare Earth to Jupiter,
Oh.
but
Do people just know the size of planets?
yeah.
Most.
Yes.
Oh.
Most of us
So
went to
it's,
school.
it's like the Roman Empire.
If
You
you
know?
talk about the Roman Empire, that will bring you back.
So it's like that comparison, but Terrillian would be larger than Jupiter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
it's,
how many Earths?
Okay,
So,
so that
it's
makes-
so big that
better?
even hundreds of billions would still be
Google it.
sparse.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So-
Just trying to kind of wrap my head
Yeah.
around the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
It's
No,
a
so-
big place.
If there's 100 billion, what were you gonna say?
Oh my gosh, Jupiter is huge.
Yeah.
You're
like
welcome.
over 1,000 Earths.
The more you know.
the more you know.
Volume
Well,
wise.
I was
Yeah.
thinking because
I
of
don't know.
how
The Google
big.
said
What is the circumference of it?
At least 2.
I didn't Google that.
Google it. What were you gonna say, Chris? Sorry.
Just because we're talking about the size of this thing, you were
Yeah.
talking about Terrillian creating this massive, impactful rock.
Big.
Can
Yeah.
you, like, now that we've
Established.
understood the foundation,
So I think they talk about it. What's the one where the robot guy shows up and he's trying to make a meteorite to destroy the world? It's Avengers or something along those.
Ultron.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron.
You remember he discussed the idea that something that impacts the Earth, if it stays together and it's a certain percentage of size, it really doesn't have to be that big to cause the
Yeah.
whole world to go into a catastrophic state.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Apocalyptic event. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
same kind of concept applies. She's making something that is literally compacted from remaining husks of planets, viewed with her own hatred for the for Terrillian. So
her hatred being her power.
her hatred being her power. It also is kind of a nod to how powerful Caff is when that thing
Yeah.
starts coming into play. But when it comes
Because
out, it's holding together. It's not most things when they come into our Earth's atmosphere, they
break
disintegrate.
apart, yeah.
This thing is not. So it's staying with
It's
all that.
big.
It's big. It's staying with all that magnitude.
And it's
And
dense
it's
though, right? Like
dense.
yeah, like
I would imagine it wouldn't have to be much bigger, or even it could probably even be smaller, the size of the moon.
okay, yeah.
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 Dang, that's big.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But
it's
compared
holding
to
together.
something the size of Jupiter, that's really not that big. But something
I think
compact
I
and
think
moving
though even
quick.
even
Can we Google how many moons for Jupiter?
Oh
You
my
think I
gosh.
will.
Science.
but so
This
so
better be just like
the other
game,
thing too though
bro.
is
Oh, so help me.
So
does her because you said it's like parts of other
Between
planets
80
and
and
things like
95
that.
moons.
Mm.
Wow.
That's more than 2.
What?
That is more than 2.
How many moons does Jupiter have? Was that the question?
Yes.
Oh. Wow, that's a lot.
more than a
Um,
few, less than a lot.
Dying, son. No, but what was I gonna say? So you said imbued with her hatred. Is that what sort of compresses it so much that it gets to the point where it's like this
Thing.
obsidian, dense rock type material?
Yeah. So as far as like the science side of it, I'm not sure how to really demonstrate that in this concept. I
science.
know you do, but as far as like how I envisioned it, I always kind of imagined her like her hatred just like being literally forced into this thing, so that way it did what its job was, which was to corrupt what it hit.
Yeah, because it's not just a rock.
Yeah.
A big rock
It's a
would
rock
be one thing.
monster.
Rock monster.
So yeah, so
So
that's
it's imbued with all of his hatred and
all of her hatred. Yeah.
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 And it's connected to her because
This hatred. I'd say his hatred.
yeah, so it's connected to her, and this is where she's like thinking a little more complexly. So she's like, hey, if I throw this at Terrillian, it could destroy the world, and my problem is solved. But Caff is defending this because he's already defeated one of my champions. So odds are he will not just let this hit.
Right.
So she's like, okay, if he stops it and breaks it to pieces, it will then scatter across Terrillian because it's basically a meteor. And I will still get what I want in a degree, which is to sap the power from the world.
So instead of
Nailed
one
it.
seed, it's multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Good job,
monolith
Chris.
just stands for like one singular purpose, one goal,
Mm-hmm.
and then breaking apart.
But it
Go.
But the goal was to so she made it that big on like
On
very
purpose.
intentionally so that he would look at it and say, that's going to destroy this planet. I need to stop that.
Yeah. So
So
she
he
made
went
it.
up,
It's almost
Killed
like
it without thinking about it.
yeah. It was an impulse attack.
And she knew that was going to happen.
She hoped that it would hit the planet and just take it outright, but
Oh.
either way, she prepared.
Yeah. So it's
for-
like a plan and a backup
Oh,
plan.
okay.
Oh,
It breaking up into
Oh.
smaller pieces was
Interesting.
the backup plan.
yeah.
Huh.
Oh, plan B. So it's
Yeah.
it was a contingency. So
Yeah,
like
it's a
if
contingency.
I'm going to destroy this planet, but if this doesn't destroy it, the only thing that he could do to stop it from destroying it is going to make it worse.
Yeah.
That is baller.
Darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Yeah. So she basically gave herself a win-win situation.
That's pretty boss.
But Cap wasn't thinking about this.
He didn't know that.
he was
I
just
mean,
gonna
all he
destroy
knew
it.
was a gigantic rock is coming into the atmosphere, going to destroy everything.
Was it a one punch?
It's a one punch.
It's a one punch, bro.
That's what I was saying. It's a nod to his
So,
power.
okay,
like he's able to
I
get
have a question.
off the floor
This is
and take it
beneath
out.
me.
Yo.
It says that Darthmar are not immune to it.
No. The
Darthma.
Darthma are not immune. Darthmar are. Unless
Oh,
we
okay.
accidentally messed that
Darthmar
up.
are immune.
Yeah.
Darthma and Felice
Are not.
and everyone else are not.
Mhm.
Is there anyone else that is not?
What is the Darthma again?
There is, but
They are the
Later dates.
hybrid creation directly linked to the Darthmar.
How are they created?
The
I missed the
So
question.
the Darthmar went out into the
Darthma.
world to create champions to help them govern the world. So when they found people that were worthy, they trained them, brought them in. They did the ritual where they gave them a little bit of their own essence.
Dawasil.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
the Dawasil, but their own essence, like
all
their
of these
blood.
questions can be answered also in season 2, episode 1. If we want to leave
But it's
that,
kind of a good recap.
Yeah, but
though.
like
Yeah.
we're
we
yeah,
can go
that's
back
it's-
and recap.
I'm like I didn't get all of that from that. Like I
Yeah.
knew where we were going with it, but I didn't understand totally how they were created from
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So they give them their blood. I
Yes.
remember that.
But because they're still significantly natural inhabitants and
Yeah.
not directly born from Kraith's own body like the
Yeah.
Darthmar are, they are corruptible by the monolith. But the
Okay.
Darthmar are more than what Terrillian can make. So she can't corrupt them because they're more than her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So they okay.
Yeah, so the natural inhabitants, the Darthma, and the Felice all are corruptible. But the
That makes
Darthmar
sense.
and Caff are obviously not. Because, I mean, Caff goes up in there and punches the thing
Yeah.
Because he's immune.
because he's a beast.
Interesting. Yeah, what a baller. Okay, wait. He's like what, 15 feet tall or something like that?
Where did we
Or
settle
like a
on
lot
that?
taller than that.
Empire State Building?
Yeah,
He's huge.
he's a big
So
dude.
he's big,
He's a chunky
but if
boy.
we're talking about something like the size of the moon,
Yeah.
he's dense.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's big, but
the
that's
moon versus
that's,
the
built-
Empire
that's
State
really
Building.
small compared to the size of the moon. So he's got to be like
And this is in part to
Packed,
show
with
us the
just
power scales that we're
mass.
like
The magnitude
messing
of what we're
around
working with. Yeah.
oh
I
Even the
really believe size
generational
reflects
rate.
strength.
yeah.
Even generational, right? You've got like Terrillian, and then Caff, and like generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. We're kind of breaking it down.
And each one slightly,
Yeah.
gets a little smaller, a little weaker each generation goes by.
That's sick.
It's a good time. So
It's wild that
he goes
this
up
all
there
just
and
sort of like
And then also
blows
take
out.
into account that all this
Yeah.
time that the Darthmar are ruling the world, they're also cultivating the Dawasil power that's spread out through the world into the Dawasil
itself.
which they are tapping into.
So how does that work?
The Dawasil, or that's kind of
I know we talk about the Dawasil a little bit, but it's like, and we're totally getting off topic from a specific chapter.
But that's okay. This is all stuff that we've kind of talked about before. So it'll be good to have a recap because I know some people have commented that, hey, could we get a recap? So in a way, we're recapping here to a degree.
What was that
not
one
fully.
person? Frost something?
Yeah.
Winter?
But
I liked that person.
so the Dawasil is the essence of what Kraith's power was. It is Kraith.
Like we've compared it in the past to like the Force or something like that.
kind of yeah.
Ian
But
has not made that comparison.
No, he has
Ian
not.
has very much not made that comparison.
I have mild
I feel like
indigestion.
it's much more.
It makes it
It's
understandable.
much
but-
more tangible than
Palatable.
The Force.
Yeah. Because like the Dawasil is Kraith, Kraith is the Dawasil. So it's like now he is technically dead and gone, but his power that he used to create everything is also of himself.
Okay.
So and it's also the only thing in existence that I forget how we put it, like it can multiply itself.
Yeah.
So like when someone is born, there's now more Dawasil than there was before.
Oh,
So it's growing on its own.
Like a life force.
So
But-
like
so it's like cells.
I thought it
Kind
was
of.
only
it's-
growing through death.
And
no, so that is the concentrated Dawasil that they are using. We
Yeah.
probably should come up with a different word to describe
Wait,
it.
Well, we do
What?
have it in the book.
Yeah.
you
Yes,
found.
which I found the book.
Now you understand my confusion. I'm like I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
So you had the power source that the Darthmar use,
Okay.
which is the
Okay.
Dawasil, which is hidden in the vault rib cage of the body of Kraith, which is Caff's throne,
Boom.
So the rib cage is the vault.
basically.
That's kind of dope.
Yeah. So it is a physical. It is
Place.
a physical thing, the Dawasil, but
So that is like measurable. Like
Yes.
there is you can see or somehow measure the amount of Dawasil that is in that location.
yes, and that is what the Darthmar are tapping into for their own power. But to grow that, the Dawasil, we really should find that word. But like it's
I
the
think it's
life energy
burning.
that's in everything.
burning.
Okay.
So like when a mother gives birth to a child, that is a new child with a new life.
Right.
So it just keeps on going. It's not,
It's almost just like pure energy.
yeah. Or pure energy, pure creation, something like that.
Yeah. It's the
So-
circle of life.
Yeah, so it keeps on continuing. But when someone dies, their life energy doesn't just evaporate into nothing. That energy goes to the Dawasil.
Could I make a comparison that
Sure.
Ian might hate?
Here we go.
Well, like yeah.
If it makes
Just
make
so
sense.
to try to explain it in
No,
my
I
own
get
head.
it.
Okay.
I'm thinking of
I get it.
Avatar.
No, the Lost City of Atlantis.
Wait, I love that movie. Why would that be a negative
No, I know,
thing?
but sometimes
Yeah,
I make
yeah.
you also love Star Wars. Whenever we bring up Metachlorians, you're
Yeah,
I just
angry.
don't like Metachlorians.
But anyway, so
Yeah,
like,
come on, man.
There's the big crystal, and they can tap into the crystal in time of need, and it's like what saves them. But then each person that lives like within Atlantis has a little crystal on their neck.
Are they born with it?
No,
they
it's,
get
it's
but
finite.
like
It's
kind of
finite.
Right.
similar-ish, where it's like
It's-
there's the big one, and then there's like the one.
So it's
with
kind of like
everyone.
that, but if every person was born
Was just born with more
with
of it.
one,
Yes.
so it would like
Okay.
continuously get more and more and more.
Yeah.
Good question, Chris.
Interesting.
Oh wait, you didn't ask a question.
No.
I'm
Way to
interested
contribute.
about the
yeah,
rock
that's
and any impact.
so yeah. That's
Okay,
why that's why Caff is able to do what he did because
Yeah.
for thousands of years now they've been building the Dawasil that they can tap into.
Interesting.
Oh, Gavin has a question.
Gavin has a
Oh
question.
my gosh,
not
our
my
guest
top.
speaker.
A word from
What
one
is
of
your
my
off-camera
speakers.
question?
He's so excited.
Or now
Look, he's
on
getting
camera
up.
question.
He is moving.
The fourth wall is broken.
Golly, the mystery of it all.
Okay,
Narrate.
so like it sounds like the Dawasil runs off like souls. So like as
Yep.
a person is born, a soul is added to it, and then
Well, when they
but
die.
it's kind of like a
die.
So is both their birth and their death adds
it's like
to it?
like a philosopher's stone.
So the
from, like,
Yes.
Full Metal Alchemist.
It's a lot like that.
So
It's
the
a lot
birth-
like that, yeah.
I haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist in a minute, but I think you're right.
So the birth
Is that a
puts
band?
more in the
No.
Into just reality. It's
Puts more
multiplying
into
like cells,
reality.
like you said earlier. It's like
And-
cells. It's dividing and there's more of it.
and
Yeah.
the death then
Goes-
gets absorbed into that physical location.
Yes. And that's what the Darthmar tap into to power themselves. So,
What are you looking at? Are you looking at
Oh,
your...
I'm just seeing if we can see them in the background.
yeah.
Oh no, they're out of frame.
Okay.
So, yeah. And that's how he's
cool.
able to do what he did.
Wow. So
Yeah.
he was using. Does it pull from it? Like, does it destroy some of the Dawasil that is there?
It consumes some of it, yes.
Okay, so it is then. That is turned into kinetic energy that hits the thing, and that kinetic energy is now gone.
Yeah.
And in as much as kinetic energy is gone, that just
It
means it's been changed into
transfer of-
something else. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm tracking now. Now, Chris, you want to bring us back on the track?
I liked the rock impact.
I
Well, I kind of want to like.
I like rock.
I like the explosion of it. What happens after the impact?
So
It's supposed to be draining the earth,
He hits
Terrillian,
it.
draining Terrillian.
Yeah, so when Caff goes up there to deal with the thing,
Not
he
the
hits
Earth.
it somewhere, and I would say like pretty decently high up, enough to where this thing, when it hits, it separates and spreads. So it's pretty high up in
And
the
then
air.
I'm sure chunks are like stuck in orbit for a little bit and then they come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he thinks he handled that problem. He, comes back down, lands.
Does he take a chunk of it in his hand as a trophy?
I mean, knowing
Say,
Caff,
didn't he take the
head of
seed?
the yeah.
yeah, he did take the head of it. He does lead into that as it starts to
Oh.
corrupt everything, where he has to collect it.
So that's the cleansing
Interesting.
wars, which I
Yeah.
love that name.
Cleansing. Well, they have to because that thing corrupts everything.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost a nerve-wracking name. Like
Yeah,
the
as we were just
cleansing
talking, I was just
wars.
picturing like people being terrified of shooting stars
Oh,
for a
yeah.
long time, just being like, "Oh no!"
Imagine
Oh
how
my
long it
gosh.
must
Yeah,
take
like
for
a
all that
meteor
that's in the
shower is
stratosphere to like come down.
Yeah, and it would take thousands or 1,000+ years for people to stop associating shooting stars with
Calamity.
calamity.
with what is about
So
to be just
They don't
mass
wish
chaos.
upon these stars.
They wish, just not upon the
When you
stars.
wish upon-
It's because everything outside of the planet for them is just bad.
We should call it the corrupting cleansing wars because
Corrupting
it's like
cleansing.
alliteration.
Well, it's funny
not calling
because
it
at this point for them, everything outside of their planet is
corruption cleansing.
Gone.
gone.
Yeah.
So their whole world is built around the idea that everything outside of this planet is trying to kill us. Because at this point, that's been the case for it.
Well, even with the impact
Jeez.
and everything,
So aliens are really scary to
Blows
them.
yeah,
They have a much greater
the
fear
rock.
of alien.
parts go down. Are tons of people dying, or
Yeah,
is this thing
I
just
mean, there
sucking
is
up
semi-death,
the
yeah,
energy
from those things raining
from the
down.
planet?
It's just not going to be the level of death that
It'll
Terrillian
obviously
hoped
depend
for.
upon the size of the chunk. Like if it's big enough, then it's like it can level a forest. But some of them are small
Yeah.
enough that they're like the size of a pebble, and it
And
wouldn't do
then-
really any destruction at all. But someone could still touch it. And then
So no matter the size,
yes,
if they touch it, is there a variance in like the speed at which it corrupts them or anything like that? Like if they touch a piece that's the size of a building, will it turn them immediately, and then the size of a pebble will like take a minute or so?
So the way I
Or
kind
is
of
it
saw
just
it,
the same?
you guys remember that scene where Lupin transforms into the werewolf from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
About that time frame. That's how
No
quick.
matter how
period?
big the thing is
Huh?
that they touch.
yeah. Period.
Period.
Okay.
Wow.
But the good
That's
thing is,
super
so
interesting.
when that thing gets broken apart, a lot of the little granules, the small
Yeah.
parts, those do get.
Okay.
So, otherwise, you would have sand
Yeah.
raining down that would corrupt.
Which
people,
that
so
would
I need to
also
get rid
be
of that.
terrifying.
It would be.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Do
Stardust.
people know about this, or is it like
When your
people
character
get
comes
It's
into
like
play?
just a bunch of
Well,
ants, and that's that salt
same-
gun that you can get.
transition,
Pretty
the
much.
You know what I'm
transition
talking about?
period? These parts land on Terrillian. People are getting turned.
Mm-hmm.
Are people learning that people are getting turned, or is it just like over time?
Well, I mean, as
everyone
fast
has-
as it interacts with people, they're seeing that firsthand. I mean, of course, right before they
Are
get
animals immune?
eviscerated.
No.
Huh? No, nothing's immune to it.
What?
Nothing is immune.
Wait, that's terrifying.
Yeah, that's why
like
it's
food
effective.
No.
So like Fido goes over and say Jim Bob has a dog and he touches it, and then he's like, my dog needs to now touch this, and he brings Fido and it touches it.
So for
Then
him,
it turns into mutant crazy Fido.
Yeah, essentially, he wouldn't
so
even have
cool.
the cognitive ability to
gangster.
make that decision. For him, he would probably, if he got transformed into one of the monolith, he would probably just
Right.
grab his dog, drag it over there, end up probably killing his dog in the process of him just trying to get it to the monolith. So it's effective, but it does have major drawbacks because it doesn't have thought.
They also do they know their power at that point? Because they're significantly stronger after they hit this thing.
They have no cognitive ability. Their only function is get more life to this stone. And
Interesting.
one of the things that we discussed, well, I think when we tried the first go around with it, was they would have, say you have two different monolith stones
Way to
that have
break the
fallen.
fourth wall again.
Right. You have two different monolith stones that have fallen in two different locations, and you have two different monoliths that were formed from that. And say they go after the same target, they will rip that target in half to bring it back to their stone. They're not thinking, oh, I need to keep it alive and to get it over there. They're like, I need.
Oh,
Take.
geez.
So
Take.
this cleansing
Take.
war isn't so much like an army fighting an army.
No.
It's like an army trying to stop a tidal wave.
Yeah.
Like an wow.
Luckily,
interesting way to
comparatively to
Yeah.
the Darthmar,
with no tools to
the
prevent it.
monolith
Yeah,
aren't
basically.
as,
Seriously.
Yeah.
like the monolith inherently aren't as strong as the Darthma. So the Darthma can like cleave through thousands of them and just
What just
make a
happened?
dent. I don't know, it existed. So then
that looked like it felt very satisfying.
This is
It was.
Terrillian, and that was like the rock. That just,
that was
Back to the
Robot's
rock.
goal.
he was trying to.
But the idea
demonstrate.
is they would go in there
That's
and they would
Dwayne,
just start
Dwayne Johnson.
pretty much.
Yeah. The Rock.
No, I'll wait.
Are you gonna wait? Are you gonna do it again?
Nah, I really want to do it again.
Then
but
do it again.
No,
You
no.
Do
I
it
won't.
again.
No,
Violence. Sorry.
no,
But-
that's crazy though, because it's like,
Yeah.
man.
So
I'm
for
processing, sorry.
if I would have put them with like a cognitive function where they operated as an army, then the Darthmar race would have been annihilated because of just how fast they make soldiers and how quickly they can make armies. So they had to have no mental fortitude other than basic function. Go grab, return, grab, return, grab, return. Doesn't care whether it's living, not grab, return.
And when you grab something, return something, you're going to grab another thing too.
Yeah, and then whatever is,
So it's just
transformed, it
constantly
just keeps growing out.
expanding.
But it made it easier for the Darthma because then all they had to do was follow the swarm.
Oh,
The
well, yeah,
swarm
that
led
makes
them.
sense.
The swarm led them right back to their stone. So anytime an outbreak would
But-
happen, all they have to
But
do
then,
is follow
okay,
it
how
back.
did that work? So they would pick it up and be like, no, no, no.
But that's
Did
the
they
thing.
have to kill everything
They have to kill
that had touched
everything
it?
because they know
ever?
exactly where it is, wherever
you
they put
take it, they're gonna go back to it.
Yeah.
So this was like in their effort to save them, they were sacrificing them. I mean,
Except for this, the
Well-
monoliths, those that died, their power did not go back to the Taoisil.
oh,
It went back.
that's a big loss.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like not only like
Terrillian.
the loss of life, but the loss of like
The soul
We don't know that
power
yet.
stuff.
yeah, like power back to it.
What?
I don't know.
he said
Oh, nice. Fun? I
we
love that
don't we
word.
don't know that yet.
Yeah,
Fish
sorry.
for friends
It's-
who do stuff
Yeah.
together.
Oh, bad.
I'm gonna bleep that out.
Thank you.
No, that's super interesting though. So wow, yeah. So then all of these
So right now, Terrillian is getting the most amount of power she's ever taken from the planet.
But she's still
Wow.
just hanging back, right? Not
She's
doing-
hanging back. She's letting her work do the job. She's innately like you see her function. She has a high level of cowardice.
Okay, so back to the numbers. You know, we just said 100 billion or whatever.
Hundreds of billions.
Hundreds
Of billions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, that's a big planet.
Mm-hmm.
So what percentage of that do you think was infected by the monolith?
So if we're
Ooh.
just thinking logically, like you have a planet, you have a stone coming at the planet, somebody takes it out and it spreads. It's probably, now keep in mind, the planet is multi-tiered, which functions for the hundreds of billions.
Ooh,
A
did
lot of that
anything get
stuff-
into the
Do we have a picture
next
of the
A
tier?
lot of
multitude?
that stuff doesn't go through the planet all
Okay.
the way through the planet to the second tier or even the
Somewhere.
third tier. It
Do we have a
lands in
drawing
some
of the
it.
multi-tiered planet?
We do. It exists.
Somewhere.
I can send you pictures.
If
It's
we
in,
can,
it's in
I was
there.
gonna say, if we can find it, I'll put it in here so that you guys can see. I'll put it right over here. I'll cover Marina with it.
Yeah.
like Mike Wazowski.
Mike Wazowski.
I'm on a podcast.
I'm on TV. Such a good reference.
Well done.
Oh.
of
Anyway,
you.
yeah. So we'll
Secretly
put
a
it here to
genius.
show you guys. It's super interesting. I remember the first time you showed me that, it was just kind of like an eye opening. Like, oh, this is like way different than anything I've seen before.
Yeah. So, but
Like-
to kind of circle it back there with that monolith hitting, it doesn't make penetration to the second layer. It's predominantly external on the outside. So it is contained, but not contained at the same time. So right now, they don't have cognitive thought, like I said. So they're not functioning like, oh, there's more below us. We need to go below. They are just spreading out and bringing things back. So
Do the inhabitants of Terrillian know that it's multi-tiered?
yeah,
will
so they're
depend.
aware of that.
It'll depend on who you are, where you are. Because like if
Right.
you're just Joe Schmo that lives in a village in the mountains, you have
Right,
no
right.
idea anything about anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
So
Okay.
it just depends on.
That's kind of what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bigger cities that actually have used so there's these huge columns that support each layer, right? So
Right.
they have dug into those columns, creating these huge cities that go down from one layer to the next.
Dude, that is such a cool
Which we do
visual.
have a drawing of that somewhere.
We do.
That's such an epic visual.
Yeah,
Like-
so we have these huge cities that are, I mean, you're talking massive.
I really
But
hope
again,
we
the
can
planet
find, I hope
is
we can
so
find these
big.
drawings so that we can put these up.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
sounds wicked cool.
Yeah, but and again, this planet is so big. Some people
Yeah.
are just not going to know that at all,
Right, yeah.
whereas some will. It just
Like
depends.
so, like we don't know about some cave that's in,
North
Zimbabwe.
Korea,
yeah,
or-
or
yeah.
North Korea that
Yeah.
that has an opening the size of whatever, and then it
Yeah.
goes down 50,000 feet or whatever. We may not know about that just because it's not on our radar. Like,
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah.
it's not in our general field of influence.
Yeah, so I would say the people who are obviously in the know would be the Darthmar, followed
Right.
closely by Darthmar because they're in states of like leadership. And then you have the fleece beneath that and then the regular inhabitants. So just like he said, if you're just some Joe Schmo in the mountains, you're not going to know anything about that. There's going to be people who have literally may not even have had interactions with the monolith at all. They may not even know it existed at any point.
So when you enter the game
Mm-hmm.
as a character, how much will you know that it's a multi-tiered planet?
No.
So
You
none
will
of
know
the trailers
nothing
that are
unless
released for
you've-
the game or anything like that are going to hint to it.
Oh.
No.
So you'll only know if you like and subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah.
Or explore.
And you'll have something to
Terrillian
look
10.
forward to when you start
Yeah.
playing Terrillian.
Yeah.
10.
And that's part of the reason, like, obviously we're spoiling
Riker
a
Earth.
lot
Oh,
in this
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
We are, but also like
But there's going to be,
there's a lot.
This is for the real
There's a
fans.
lot of chapters we've skipped.
there's a lot of chapters we skipped, and there's only been, a few hundred people that have listened to this at this point?
Oh yeah.
At
Yeah.
this point,
So-
yeah.
Can you imagine, like, we finally get someone to be like, hey, we want to make this game.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be like, hey, you should take that down.
Aw.
And archive
we
it.
might say,
Who knows?
we might say pound sand. Like we're putting
Yeah.
that here as an Easter egg for people who want to spend
but my
72
point is,
hours
like,
and
by
watch all these.
the time the game actually comes out, there's not going to be much of anyone that is aware of anything about the lore.
So those
Yeah.
of you listening right now,
Yeah, the lucky
when we
ones.
have hundreds of thousands of views on this, you guys are really lucky you found this.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Will this big monolith rock
Mm.
exist, or the parts exist
Yes.
when the character comes into the game?
Ooh.
It is, but it's almost kind of like the way.
Could you get turned?
No.
Oh,
What?
no.
Your
Wait,
character can't get turned?
No. Your
Why?
why can't you get?
Good
why
question,
can't you
Chris.
get turned?
Spoilers. I'm
Oh,
not
we're
gonna
not.
spoil
Okay,
that.
you're not releasing
But
that.
your character, we'll talk about it in upcoming episodes. But your character,
We'll talk
does
about
not-
that in season 3.
Yeah, we do. I talk about that and a
Ooh.
lot of fun stuff
So
in season
this,
3.
but these pieces scattered
you
all
a-
over
are
the
you a-
planet still exist?
Yeah.
They-
Well,
they
so
still
a lot
exist.
of them get collected by the Darthmar and put in vaults that no one can access.
Are you a Darthmar?
no,
No.
maybe
Season
Could be.
3?
No,
Whatever. Who knows? But yeah, so there are still some, like, there's actually, not really spoiling, but like there are going to be, like, is going to be a side quest that you might have to do with the Monolith, but that's not really going to be the point of the games.
yeah, it's
So
gonna be
that's not the
there.
So
point
it's
of
gonna
the
be
story.
like, it's part of Terrillian's history.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So
It all comes
as far as like
together.
when your character comes into play, a lot of history's been rewritten. So a lot of things have been forgotten, and I mean, like parts of the monolith that have been, say there are parts of the monolith that are still on the outer surface of Terrillian, but over centuries of time, those things have been buried by dirt, overgrown, so they're just trapped within the layers of Terrillian itself. So,
Wow.
I mean, really to find one of those stones is going to be very much so a difficult thing to do because it's just over time things have grown over it. Just like we can't find these gigantic pyramids
Yeah.
and we're finding them only here recently, some of these pyramids out in the jungles, just because things do what they do. They just overgrow.
I just had a question. So last question. This is a slight spoiler for the chapter to come.
Ooh.
Because this just made me think about this. So there are remnants of the monolith when your character comes into play, but there aren't any Darthmar to collect them anymore. So if the cycle begins, how is it stopped?
I would say it would be stopped by the current overlords of the planet at that time.
Okay, so
Who are the
they
current
are
overlords
they
of the
are
planet?
also immune.
They are
Cool. Okay.
flesh and blood.
Wait, what?
Corruptible.
To be
No,
answered.
to be answered in the next
in
chapter.
next week's episode.
And with that, we'll draw to a close.
What?
With that, we will draw to a close. We do appreciate all of you who have listened to our comprehensive discussion of the planet known as Terrillian. We entice you to listen and learn, following along with each podcast so that you can visualize the vivid and vast world. A tragic tale set forth where the main protagonist, you as the gamer, play to conquer lands and legends, thus creating the lore of your own. In doing so, we hope to gain your favor and turn these stories into a video game. If you want to see more content, check out our website at terrilliangaming.com.